My name is Dinah Mobi. Let's do some business now. Now, the recent Monetary Policy Committee meeting held by the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Isiama, has brought to the fore ongoing challenges of the high inflation as a pressing concern for the nation's economy. The meeting, which took place on the Monday 24th, aimed to assess the current economic landscape and determine the appropriate monetary policy stance to address the rising inflation rate. Governor Isiama reported that the inflation has continued to pose significant risks to economic stability, impacting the purchasing power of the citizens and creating uncertainties in the markets.
While inflation is easing, I'm sure you have gone through your blue books, it remains uncomfortably high, and I must emphasize the word uncomfortably. Remains high at over 23%, and progress has been slow, particularly on a month-on-month basis. For instance, structural drivers of food inflation remain persistent. The external environment, colleagues, is another area which, though currently supportive, is becoming increasingly volatile. We've seen a strong trade surplus, and we've seen some solid reserve buildup, as the data in the Blue Book will show, and these on the back of gold exports and remittance flows. But colleagues, we also see a possible escalation in global tariff wars. We also see rising geopolitical tensions, and we see a weakening in Chinese demand, which could shift the dynamics. These global factors could also have spillover effects on inflation going forward, capital flows, and could also affect exchange rate stability going forward. Domestically, colleagues, the 2024 fiscal outtake, as you've seen in the data, has been expansionary, with the deficit exceeding program targets. We have seen encouraging signs of consolidation for the first 2 months in 2025. But even with that, questions remain as to whether current measures are adequate to anchor expectations and or satisfy upcoming IMF program reviews. Private sector credit is recovering in nominal terms. Real credit growth remains modest. Colleagues, banks are still cautious, and NPL levels remain a concern. Meanwhile, our microfinance and rural banking sectors are stagnating, although showing some signs of stability. We need to get along with the recapitalization and regulatory reforms to preserve confidence in that area. Colleagues, there are also deeper structural issues which we must not lose sight of. For example, the underinvestment when it comes to agriculture, the persistent exchange rate misalignments that we contend with, and the need to deepen domestic financial markets, particularly after the DDEP and its impacts. While inflation is easing, I'm sure you have gone through your blue books.
Bank Johnson Kofi Adomako has expressed the support for ongoing transparency initiative within the banking sector. The meeting, attended by financial stakeholders, aimed to address recent economic challenges and the role of transparency in fostering trust and stability in the financial system. Mr. Adomako emphasized that transparency is crucial for enhancing stakeholders' confidence, particularly in a time when economic uncertainties are prevalent.
For anyone to have told us that they bought Airtel Tigo for $1 and have taken over the ministry, and ATC, American Tower Company, just one of the companies Airtel Tigo owes, brought us a bill of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. 1.5 billion.
Banks are coerced to lend to SOEs. Okay, and let's not hide. All of these things happen because those indigenous Ghanaian banks are come under pressure to lend to SOEs and get stuck in that type of business. And so the key thing is GCB must grow to begin to look like an APSA. It must grow to begin to look like a Stanbic. It must grow and get out of Ghana, get into the African continent and spread and diversify. Okay? It's not the business of governments to have shares in banks and have shares in banks. Government can have a smaller share, but allow the private sector to go. It improves the governance in the institution. And once the governance is improved, the bank also grows better and does things better.
So the MPLs were occasioned by just the stresses in the economy. Ghana's, the default placed a lot of stress on the economy. You saw that inflation went as high as 54%. The currency weakened substantially, and all of these variables and developments placed significant stress on businesses. But the trends have been a lot more favorable in the past few months. NPLs themselves are lagging indicators, and so it's always important to understand what has happened as you review NPLs. We feel that the West is behind us, and when you look at some of the leading indicators of economic activity, it points to an improvement. And so we feel that over time, the NPL ratios should come down. But yes, it does place some stress on the balance sheet of banks, because banks would have to.
So my last business story, Minister for Communication, Sam George, has addressed claims surrounding the acquisition of Airtel Tigo for just $1, highlighting the company's ferocious financial situation. Sam George pointed out that Airtel Tigo debt exceeds $3.5 billion, raising questions about the feasibility of such low acquisition prices. During a press interview, Mr. George emphasized the need for transparency and accountability in telecommunication industry.
For anyone to have told us that they bought Airtel Tigo for $1 and have taken over the ministry, and ATC, American Tower Company, just one of the companies Airtel Tigo owes, brought us a bill of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. That's just ATC alone. Today, the American ambassador was in my office with a team, and one of the major issues was the indebtedness to ATC. The debt sitting on the books of Airtel Tigo is in excess of 3.5 billion Ghana cedis. So if someone told you they bought it for $1, who is going to pay the 3.5 billion that's sitting there and growing, accruing interest? And that's why I say those who carried out that action lack any sense of patriotism, because most of the debt is debt that was accrued by Millicom, which was a private American company running Tigo, and Bharti Airtel, an Indian company. And to show you how irresponsible the actions were, after they have absorbed the company and the debt and put it on the balance sheets of the government of Ghana, now they attempted to drop the assets of the company into a new vehicle, and they were engaging with Bharti Airtel again to let Bharti Airtel come and take the clean company as a new company. Like I said, the Attorney General has work to do, because we cannot run a country like this. American Tower Company, just one of the companies Airtel Tigo owes, brought us a bill of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis.
And that'll be all for business. My name is Dinah. We'll be stay tuned for entertainment with Gladys Afide Tete.